as we begin our 2 radio program. Good to have you aboard here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Right until 6. Tomorrow, Shinnecock, the extra hour. Steve and Danny Cannell there, too. Mike in South Carolina. He starts off our second hour. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Mike, good afternoon. How are you today, pal?
I'm good, Chris Russo. How are you doing today?
Fine, Mike. Thank you. Let me hear from you. Long time no chat. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, well, I got a little suspicion in my mind about LeBron's hand. But listen, here's my thing, Chris. I'm surprised you're giving him a little bit of a pass on this. We know people, it's emotions. It happens. Yeah, when you're like in the league 2 or 3 years, not in an NBA final, you can't do that in the NBA final. If it went down like he said it did, go out there and average 50 for the series and give it your best shot. That's something I expect from my son when he was 17, Chris, not from an all-time great. And, yes, we can criticize LeBron and still say he's an all-time great. I think he's on the Mount Rushmore. He's proved that. But this is why he's not the GOAT. I don't want to hear none of that GOAT talk.
So you don't like
can't do that to
so you're well. Listen, he had a pretty good game 2. You know, he was a little more quiet in game 3 and 4. They were not going to win this series anyway. This is he didn't cost them a championship.
I agree, but go average 50, Chris. Go average 50, because if he's got a broken hand, that's definitely going to take some of his game away.
Well, I agree. I mean, he's not going to be quite as good, but he still was. He still was pretty good there in that second game, and he was okay in game 3. He was bad in game 4 by his standards.
We want great. Because he's that damn good. We expect greatness. And Chris, if it went down, everything like you said, I don't see why he even wore a cast. I would try to keep that under wraps. I wouldn't want nobody to know. I would tell everybody, snitches get stitches. This stays in the locker room. I'm sorry I did this, because you know what? He should be sorry. I know he's with a bunch of so-so ball players, but he's their leader. He's the man. You can't do that, Chris Russo. You can't hit a blackboard, a chalkboard, or whatever he hit out of frustration because J.R. Smith's a mental midget. You wanted them to sign this guy and keep him. You know what he's all about. And why didn't LeBron call a timeout? Why did he know there was a timeout left when he was? Why didn't the coach? They should have had that all established before they went out there, and they could have maybe won the game and had this been a decent series. And if he got to go average 50, and you only, you get swept or you losing 5, then we're talking about how damn good he is. And now instead we're sitting there going, well, he played so-so in this game. Well, no wonder his hand was probably broke. He can't do that, Chris. You can't. He doesn't get a pass from that on me, and that's why I don't want to hear none of this.
Well, listen, forget about the greatest all time. You can go to that debate any day you want with LeBron and get a million calls and get yourself through a talk show or a column or anything else, by bringing up the LeBron thing with Jordan. I don't make too much of it. He definitely did not play as well following breaking his hand or whatever he did. So we know games 2, 3, and 4 were, especially game 4, were uncharacteristically average for LeBron's greatness. We understand that. We get that. But he wasn't, especially in games 2 and 3. Game 2, he was pretty good in the game. Not as good, but he was pretty good in the game. He had that great backboard slam, if you remember correctly. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. If I thought that it compromised them from winning a championship, I'd go crazy. If I thought, everybody was frustrated with JR. If he banged his hand against the blackboard, he's not the first athlete to ever have done that. There's million examples. Yes, he's got to know better. He's LeBron James, but, it happens, per se. So I am not going to make a big deal about it. I'm surprised everybody seems to want to make a big deal about that. I don't like wearing a cast at the post game. I would prefer he'd not do that. That's for sure. Here's Pat in Texas. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Pat, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have for me?
Hey, Chris. How are you today?
Fine, Pat. Thank you. What's going on? What do you have?
Good. Hey, listen, I don't know about LeBron and Jordan, who's the best ever, but I know one thing for sure. 45 years later, when Secretariat that Saturday in June in '73, that is by far the finest performance I've ever seen, and justifies a good horse, and it was good for the sport. But boy, that just Jerry Bailey's right. He was trying to low key it, but to me, there's nothing even comparable to Secretariat.
Well, that is true. The fact of the matter is that Justify would have lost to Secretariat by 20 lengths is really hard to believe, with length being with 1 second being 5 lengths. Think about that, and he was 4 seconds slower than Secretariat. That is amazing when you think about it. You're right. That was that was an incredible freak of nature. It's one of the great athletes we've ever had. I know it's a horse, but it's still a great athlete we've ever had. And Sham was phenomenal that he broke 3 course records in that year, and in all 3 course records, he finished way back in second place, which is hard to believe. But you're right. Let's not compare Justify to Secretariat. I'm with you on that. What's number 2, Pat?
Number 2, the other great performer that we get to witness, Nadal. I mean, that's, again, true greatness. The guy is he's just a joy to watch, and afterward he's so humble and gracious. Between him and Federer, man, we've been blessed for so many years with. It's unbelievable just watching them. And
listen, I thought the French Open lost a lot with no. I almost want somebody. I have nobody to root for at the French Open. I can't root for a guy who's won it 11 times. And Nadal does bother me at times with how long he takes to serve, and he's a bull in a china shop. Now, he's so ferocious that people like that. I know a lot of people love that style. I prefer the all-around game where you see that from Federer, the brilliance of his game. I prefer that more than a guy who's just going to, pound forehands and, pound backhands cross court. I would prefer the all-around game a little more than we get with Nadal. But Nadal winning 11 times in one major is pretty damn good. And he's not going to slow down. Folks, he's lost 2 times on that court. He lost to Djokovic once and Rodin Soderling. That's it. Think about it. In his career, he didn't win it once because he had to withdraw because he hurt himself. He had a wrist issue, if you remember that. He's on that court in Paris, he's lost twice in 15 years. That is hard to believe when you think about it. Here's Christian Charlotte on a board on Mad Dog Unleashed. Christopher, good afternoon. How are you, Chris? What's going on?
Hey, Dog. Good afternoon. Two things for you. I just wanted to talk a little golf with you regarding your 19 handicap. We were talking a little bit about it last week, but my offer still stands for you to come down here if you want to work on your short game. I did shoot 4 under yesterday for 27 holes, so
that's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. I consider
myself an expert. Yeah, and so if you want to send some video or something, I can critique it and. Just to kind of get you in the summer swing of it, because I know you're passionate about it, and I taught for a long time. So
that's a good idea, Chris. I will think about that. You will call. All I can tell you is on Saturday, not so much Friday, but on Saturday, I could not essentially in the first 9 holes put the ball on the green from the fringes 10 yards, 5 yards away. I could not put the ball on the green, which is hard to believe.
Were you chunking them or sculling them over?
I was not sculling them. I was essentially hitting the ball off the hosel.
Oh, okay.
I was essentially hitting the ball right, on a hosel. And I have been working on the short game continuously. Let's not depress the audience about my golf game.
Yeah.
Let's talk. What do you got about the U.S. Open at Shinnecock? Let me hear your thoughts on that.
Oh. Actually, I'm going to get back with you on that. I had something else about the NBA. I wanted to get your take on this. Dog, one of the reasons why I kind of stopped watching the NBA like I used to when Michael was winning all of his championships, and again, I want to get your opinion on this. It bothers me so much that everybody today is in love with, the shooting, the three-point shots, just the ham and egg stuff. What I'm really missing is that committed team defense where all 5 guys are all in, where you had that with the Chuck Daly teams, you had that with the Pat Riley teams, and you really had that with the Bulls teams where you see total committed team defense and less hot dogging and all about scoring and all the three-point shots. It really has taken away from the greatness of the NBA, and I just can't get into it like I used to, and I just wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah, listen, I get that with the defense on a 48-minute night commitment. Sometimes it's not there. I'm not as wrapped up in it. Analyzing the Pistons, it's a different era. They banged around. They were allowed to do a lot more things than they are today. It's more of an offensive league now, as you said, shooting threes. It's a little different. I'm looking for competitiveness. I'm looking for non-dynasty. I don't like the way Golden State was put together with Durant. I enjoyed the Houston series, but then that was marred by Paul. I want to see Golden State challenged a little bit, which they were more so this year than they were in the past. That's what I'm more concerned about. I'm not worried about the way they get there, their style, their team style. If they play rugged man-to-man defense, when the NBA team wants to play rugged man-to-man defense, they can do that. Chad in California, good job for Chris. And here's Chad on Mad Dog Unleashed. Chad, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have?
Doing good, Chris. How you doing?
Fine, Chad. Thank you. What's on your mind?
Just wanted to weigh in. I'm really glad we had the Caps and their whole situation. I mean, they made us, quick work of Vegas, but the fact that we had the Ovechkin story and just the whole D.C. area in general with their recent struggles as far as always getting to the playoffs and coming up short, that was good because this NBA, Game 4 was absolutely horrible. I was with you. I turned it off, but I called you on Thursday and I told you exactly how it was going to play out, and that's just how predictable it was. I told you, 15, 20-point lead with 3 minutes left. LeBron's going to walk off for the last time as a Cavalier. Lo and behold, that's what we got. It was easy to predict. It's just a narrative that happens with him and his teams. He gets down and out. And I understand the hand, but like Mike in South Carolina said, you can't let that happen. You're in a championship series. You got to hold back a little bit. I know it was frustrating, but overall, just the whole series, this Golden State thing, it's getting a little, it's wearing on us a little bit as NBA fans.
Yeah, no question about it. They're too good. Their talent wins in the NBA. They got two, obviously. Durant's going to go down as one of the top 20 players of all time. He's 7 foot tall who can shoot. And, Curry is going to go down as one of the great shooters of all time. And, if you look at him all around from, he's top 50. He's a different kind of player. He's creative. So from an offensive standpoint, he's right there. He doesn't play the great defense. He's a little different kind of guy than Durant is. But they have two Hall of Famers. One of them is an iconic player. They obviously are sitting there with Thompson, who is a very good wingman, will be a Hall of Famer. He's not a great player, but he's very, very good. They got Green, who can do the things on that kind of team that does not require him to do the thing he can't do, which is score. They got Iguodala, who's a good fill-in player. They have Livingston off the bench. They got a top-flight team. Simple. They got a top-flight team. They probably would have been interesting to see if Paul didn't get hurt, where they would have been against the Rockets in the 7th game. They were vulnerable in that series. I don't like to consider them dynasties based on the idea that they got Durant the easy way, with Durant bailing out in OKC and joining the enemy, which bothers me to this day. I don't like that. So I hesitate to sit there and say that they're a quote-unquote dynasty like the old days, where teams built their, where franchises built their team, made good trades. Auerbach got Dennis Johnson. Auerbach drafted Larry Bird. Auerbach traded for Parrish and McHale. That's traded for Russell. That's how you, drafted Havlicek. That's how you put together a title team. Look what the Lakers did. West they traded for before West. They traded for Kareem. He drafted Magic. They made a trade to get Worthy. They drafted Byron Scott. Wilkes was a free agent. They signed him. Look at that team did. And Wilkes got there before Magic did. Look at that team. That's the way you build a team. Durant, said, what? I can't beat him. Let me join him. That's not. To me, that's not. I can't call that a dynasty when Durant just joined on board. Doesn't take away from his greatness, but it does take away, in my eyes, from the dynasty aspect of it. 17 after the hour, Mad Dog Unleashed.